This is my art and design portfolio. It mostly contains work that I did on the course I did in Switzerland, but also a few things from my A-level art sketchbooks. I also have a digital version of this portfolio, which I'll leave a link to in the description. I applied to UCL for architectural and interdisciplinary studies, and then to Central St Martin's, Oxford Brookes, Brighton and the Architectural Association for architecture. And I managed to get offers from all 5. UCL was my firm choice and St Martin's was my insurance. You'll notice that this booklet and some of the others don't contain the originals. On my course, we were taught how to use InDesign to display our work professionally, which meant scanning all of our work and then creating layouts in InDesign in order to make a booklet. For a course like architecture, drawing skills are essential, so obviously I included this book. I made sure I didn't just include pencil drawings. Usually for creative courses, they do like to see a range of media used. In terms of physically making the book, after I'd finished doing up the layout in InDesign, I exported it to a PDF, then sent it to my mom, who has a really nice binding machine in her office. She got it bound for me, and that was that. As I mentioned before, some of the pages in here are from my A-level sketchbooks. If anyone would like to see an A-level sketchbook video, then let me know. So this was the first project we did on my Light and Space class on my course. The title was Light and Shadows. I put this booklet together for the sake of my portfolio because for this project we didn't have to make a documentation. Documentations are basically like sketchbooks. They just show your thought processes and the steps you took along the way. So for this project, initially we had to take pictures outside of structures that had interesting light and shadow compositions, and then we had to make collages of them using black, grey and white paper. The work I did in this class was a really good addition to my portfolio. Then this was the biggest and last project I did in the Light and Space class called Atmospheres. We had to create a model of a room from cardboard and then take pictures of it at the end. In the early stages, we took a look at rooms and spaces around us and how light created specific moods. Next, we created a few small models and used different kinds of lights to see how they affected the atmosphere. The aim was to make the pictures of the final model look as much like a real room as possible. Then we had to give our room a name and also write a short little story about it, which I got quite creative with. It seemed like such a straightforward task to begin with, but making the models was actually so difficult. You have to be so precise when you're cutting because you want the final room to look as realistic as possible. So if you're sloppy in any way, shape or form, then it's just not gonna look good. These were the final pictures. Overall, I was happy with them, but I felt like I rushed this project a little bit. I feel like if I'd properly thought about it, my model would have been a bit more sophisticated. This project is slightly different from the others. Whilst drawing and 3D skills are important, it's good to show that you can use different media, so I included some paint work. This was another project that I did on my course in Switzerland. It was for the colour and image class, Farbe und Bild. The building that we had this class in overlooked the Rhine, so in the first few lessons we sat by the river and took pictures to capture the different colours and also did some drawings to capture movement. The aim of the project was to create a series of paintings that captured the colours and movements of the water. You'll notice that with this project I didn't do it all digitally. That was partly because I ran out of time, but also because I thought it was important to include some variety and not have everything printed off. So these were the final paintings. Again, I included the originals this time to give it a bit of variety, and also because they're paintings. The surface has a texture which you get to see better if you include the originals rather than a printout of a scan. This booklet is A3 because I did my paintings A3, and I literally just got white pieces of paper and stuck everything on except the cover, which I did scan one of the paintings and then print out. And finally, this is my digital portfolio. I had to make it for my application to Oxford Brookes. I also used it for Brighton because they wanted to see our work online. I've come to the end of this video and realised that I completely missed out the fact that I had an A-level sketchbook in my portfolio. The only reason I included it was because it contained my sculptural work, otherwise I would have just kept it to the stuff I did on my course. So when I went for my interviews at St Martin's and the Architectural Association, I had the stuff you saw in the previous clips, as well as one of my A2 sketchbooks. I also want to reiterate that the reason my portfolio has been made in this way is because that's what I was taught on the course, and I thought it would be a good idea to use the skills that I learned on the course to make my portfolio. This is absolutely not the correct way to make a portfolio, this is just the way I did it. And before I even applied to universities, when I was applying to my art foundation courses, I did the standard A-level sketchbooks and then large A1 sheets with work mounted onto them. So I think I've covered everything. Let me know whether you enjoyed this video or whether you'd like to see my A-level work in more detail, and I'll get round to that. Otherwise, have a great week and I'll see you soon. Bye!